Our next story is about Byju, India's biggest edtech company. It has decided to sack 5% of its workforce. That's around 2,500 employees. Why? Because Byju is going through losses, so it's on a cost-cutting spree, as are several other companies. In the last few months, a host of Indian startups have laid off their employees. Who are they? What challenges do they face? And will firing employees really solve the problems of these companies? Here's a report with all the details.
It is India's biggest edtech company with the highest market valuation. Since its inception in 2011, it has struck many big-ticket deals with a slew of high-profile buyouts. But 2022 is proving to be a big challenge for Byju. Look at how it's faring. In June, it was forced to eliminate hundreds of jobs and slash plans for a $1 billion acquisition. In September, it was forced to delay its initial public offering and postpone it by 12 months due to macroeconomic factors. We're in October now, and Byju has taken another consequential decision. It plans to lay off 2,500 employees. That's around 5% of its workforce. It will be sacked in the next 6 months. These job cuts will unfold across products, content, media, and technology teams. Reports say this would be one of the largest layoffs by a major Indian startup. The question is, why? The answer is profit. Byju says it plans to use these cost-cutting measures to achieve profitability as the fiscal year ends. Its statement reads, "As a mature organization that takes its responsibility towards investors and stakeholders seriously, we aim to ensure sustainable growth alongside strong revenue growth. These measures will help us achieve profitability in the defined timeframe of March 2023. Byju's move is significant. It could open a can of worms, set a precedent for other startups, some of which are already taking such steps. Like Front Row, another Bengaluru-based edtech company, it has laid off 75% of its workforce. That's around 130 employees. Meanwhile, several Indian unicorns, or companies with a valuation of $1 billion, are announcing similar moves. For instance, Ola, Blinkit, Unacademy, and Vedantu. They're all blowing out their remaining candles and laying off a considerable number of employees. What explains this trend? Why are startups on a firing spree? There are a host of reasons. Number one, they face a funding squeeze, courtesy geopolitical instability, pandemic-induced slowdowns, and growing rates of inflation. A new report by PwC says that due to these factors, investments in Indian startups have dropped 40% this year. They've gone from $10 billion in 2021 to just $6.8 billion in 2022. The second reason behind this trend is slower growth. Most of these startups are not making enough profits. Their stocks are plummeting. Their revenues are falling. A study says in March and April, Indian startups raised $5.8 billion. That's about 15% lower than what they made during the same period last year. The third reason is growing labor costs. In 2021, Indian startups had a ball. They benefited from the lockdowns, attracted billions in private funding, launched a host of new verticals, and went on a colossal hiring spree. Now, facing a lack of cash and falling revenues, and pandemic-tailored verticals falling flat, many businesses are struggling to pay salaries. And new employees are pushing for increments. So what do? They sack their staff to stay afloat. Will this solve their problems? Only time will tell. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.